Welcome back to the third video of the series. This time is going to be how to build every single destruction unit in 2025 for Honkai Starbucks. And destruction cards, this video might be a... Wait, hold up. Let her kill Firefly real quick. Oh! Yep, just killed Firefly right there. So this is gonna be quite a decent chunk of units on the destruction class. We do have ourselves Yunli, Mydei, Dale, Clara, Firefly, Jingliu, Blade, and the 4 stars which nobody uses. So let's just jump straight into the first one which I'm really in. That is going to be Yunli. Luckily or unluckily for me, every single destruction unit that we have so far, they all kind of run like a different build. So they are pretty niche in that department. You can't really share the gears between them that much. Even their signature icon. So I would say that all of the destruction units so far, they are quite unique, and we're most likely going to be seeing a very similar case to our other DPS classes because they're technically always going to be more less generalized compared to your sustain or potentially even your support, right? So Yunli, we basically want to run her, as slow as possible. She needs no speed whatsoever since the damage is going to come from the counters. As high of a attack, crit rate, and crit damage as you can. If you want to have a little bit of a bulk, sure, but she already has a very, very good chunk of damage reduction from the ultimate. So even if you just went all in offense, she's not gonna die anytime soon, right? So in terms of the relics, we are gonna be running 4-piece Valerius as well as a 2-piece you run, right? So just slam her as much crit value as you possibly could. Or for me personally, I don't really have the best Yunli, but I think this is gonna be good enough, especially if you are gonna be able to get on enough crit rate to reach 100%, right? The most important thing for Yunli is to reach 100% crit rate because you really do not want an ultimate to miss a crit, just like you're gonna see for every single DPS. In fact, in my opinion, if it's not 100%, it's just going to be 50-50, right? So, depending on the units and the support you're going to be running her with, then you can kind of adjust the crit rate adjustments, or rather the requirements for her. So, for example, if you're going to be running Yunli with Sunday, you can run a super fast Sunday, base speed Yunli, still have to 80% crit rate, and Sunday is going to bring this back up to 100% crit rate, then that's going to be completely fine. If you want to run Yunli with RMC, because of the true damage buff, which in my opinion is very, very strong, you can just keep it to 90% crit rate, and that's going to be also 100% crit rate, right? The crit damage, honestly, if this dude is very low, it's completely fine because the ultimate does give you another 100% crit damage. If you're running with Bubbin, run a Sunday, all this kind of stuff, they can boost your crit values by a lot. So the most important thing is just getting this crit rate to 100% as much as you can. In terms of the signature light cone, you basically don't really have any other option because this is the only signature light cone in destruction that increases your chance of getting hit, which is directly taunt to Yunli, really wanting to get as high of a taunt rate as possible so that she can basically land all of the counters and generate the energy for herself, right? And then the damage part is also not that important. The only thing that matters that much is just getting hit so that she can generate energy for herself and to cast the ultimate as much as possible. If you really don't have this signature light cone, I guess you could run like Blade, kind of, because technically this increases her damage and the crit rate, so it's not that bad. But everything else from Yunli is just really not as good because taunt value, it can't really be measured, but it's very, very important for Yunli to be the one getting hit all the time, right? For Mydei, this is just I mean, nah, it's just not, right? So yeah, that's pretty much unfortunate. Not a lot of flexibility over here. For the relics replacements, you can consider running with South Soto because it's technically follow-up or ultimate damage. For the outside 4-piece, if you really don't have a Duran, honestly, if you want to run like a Rainbow, as long as you get this to 100% crit rate, she's gonna do a job, right? That's all you need for Yunli. So that's pretty much it. Eidolon's E1, very, very good. If you don't want an E1, even E0 S1, she's still gonna be doing fine depending on your support for vertical investment. So that is going to be that for Yunli. Next unit is going to be Mydei. So Mydei, you can see over here we do have 9.4k HP with 129 speed, 49.9 crit rate, 169.5 crit damage on the HP double main stat, no imaginary damage. Just slam on as much HP as humanly possible. This number over here, it should not go below 8,000, right? You should always have more than 8,000 on this, no exceptions whatsoever, just to get the maximum value from his passive traits to get the 100% crit rate. In fact, for me over here, I actually overcapped on crit a little bit because this is going to be basically 50 plus 48, and if you step on Sunday, this is a little bit overcapped, but it is what it is. I already ran as many crit damage subs as I could on the HP percentage main stat, HP percentage main stat, HP percentage main stat, right? If you do want to change this to a crit damage main stat, that is possible. I did the math for Mydei's early access server where I compared HP and crit damage main. HP actually helped me to deal more damage, but crit damage allowed me to charge my charge a little bit faster, right? Especially since you are going to be almost certainly running Mydei with Sunday. So Sunday actually gives you a very, very considerable buff of crit damage, which is why HP main set actually gives you a little bit more damage. For that, you can check out the early sets video. Everything else doesn't matter. Double crit, double crit, double crit, exactly the same as you will find from any of the DPS. This should always be HP because I mentioned imaginary damage boost not that important. You have a lot of damage and you just want this to be as much HP as possible just for the biggest boom, right? Never run this on energy regeneration. It changes almost absolutely nothing. So that would also pretty much be for Mydei. For the speed tuning portion, you definitely want this to be in combat effective 134 speed. So if you are going to be running Dance Suns, anywhere between 118 speed to 125 is going to be completely okay. If you do not want to run Dance Suns, then you need to hit 134 effective, because as you can see from all of the other DPS that you run this with, like for example Sunday, right? Like you want to run Jingliu, you want to run Blade, you want to run Scylla. Okay, maybe Scylla is a bad example, but like all of this hyper crit DPS, you always want to run DPS, Sunday, DPS for every single scenario for the highest damage possible. If you wanted to run Mydei with Sparkle, right, there is a scenario where you can actually reduce his speed a little bit more and then make sure that Sparkle is 200 speed effective so that you can pull him up and the God Slayer can still benefit the benefit from Sparkle, right? So these two are the only speeds, but other than the Sparkle, if you're going to be running with Sunday, which is, you know, a lot stronger in my opinion, you definitely want to hit this with at least 134 speed in combat, right? So the Dungeon Suns, most people, they run this with Tribi, right? So Mydei with Sunday and Tribi, that is pretty much going to be the most widely used combo of Mydei out there. If your Tribi does not want to run Dungeon Suns and you want to run this with an S1 Tribi, then you do need to make sure your Sunday and Mydei, they're both going to be at a 134 effective in combat. So that is pretty much it. In terms of the relics, I mean, there's not too much to say. You can... If you don't want to run the Scholar 4-piece, you could run the 4-piece Longevous, but he's already overcaping on crit rate so much, you're losing a lot of value by running 4-piece Longevous. Then for the Bone, there's no other alternative. This is the best in slot, so it is what it is. Islands, this E1 changes everything. You guys already know by now, so nothing too much to talk about. And then Signature Icon, if you don't want to run this, you could consider running Blade. It's not too bad, but I just want to keep in mind... Oh, right, I got another Mydei Signature Icon. Oh, I completely forgot. Shit. Yeah, okay. Yeah, apparently I have an S2 Mydei Signature Icon, but yeah, anyways, I was saying, this Mydei Signature Icon is honestly very, very good for Mydei specifically because it basically generates him free charge, just like Acheron's Signature Icon. So if you are a Mydei main, this Icon honestly holds quite a decent chunk of value for you. Then E1 basically turns into Erudition. So in terms of vertical investment, Mydei is definitely going to be up there for all of the Mydei mains, right? So that's pretty much it. Nothing too much to talk about anymore, right? Cool. In terms of, okay, and also I guess as a baseline, a lot of the discharge units, like I mentioned, they all have very different builds, but unfortunately their builds are very specialized, so there really isn't too many rooms that you want to go out of the box and build up another playstyle, unlike your support and most sustain, right? They will have that one build and you want that one build, and you're probably going to be seeing this for almost every single one of the DPS, so just keep that in mind going forward, right? So let's go on to the next unit, which is going to be Mydei's daddy. Right, this is gonna be Mydei's daddy and a good old-fashioned Imbibitor Lunae, and yes, I still have him built up pretty decently, still hitting exactly the same speed as Mydei, 129 speed, crit rate, crit damage. You basically want to copy and paste Mydei's build for Lil Bro, but instead of skill on HP, he's got attack skill, right? The attack honestly is a little bit low over here, but because we are running the imaginary damage boost, attack main, speed subs, as well as a crit damage main set, 2-piece Musketeer as well as a 2-piece banditry. This is the only 2-piece banditry I'm using. You could run either 4-piece Musketeer or 4-piece banditry, but the differences is very, very little. And the reason why I have him on 129 is also going to be the exact same reason why I have Mydei on 129, which is his best in slot support right now is going to be Sunday. So if you do want to run him Sunday, you know, exact same build, deal, Sunday deal, nothing too much to talk about. My deal, you know, hey, I do believe that if your Imbibitor Lunae is not going to be at the E2, me personally, if you don't want to vertically invest in him, I think that's completely fine. But if you already have invested in an E2 deal from back in the days, or like maybe right now or very recently, I believe that he's still going to be cooking. So just something to keep in mind. Like Cone, I don't believe, like I mentioned for all of the Destruction DPS, a lot of their alternatives, they don't really work that well with one another. And the 4-star alternatives are also not going to be that great. So also just keep that in mind. Nothing too much to say about it that much anymore. So that's going to be Dale. I really like him, and if you don't want to play Mydei, you want to play Dale, I think it's gonna be fine. So yep, okay. Anyways, moving on. Next unit, okay, Clara. It is basically exactly the same as Yunli. They are both built the exact same. You want this to be 100% crit rate, no speed, attack, crit damage, exactly the same verbatim. It is the exact same photo. For Clara herself, she doesn't. The only change is she doesn't want to run the Durant 2-piece. You do want to keep this to be the Sao Solo 2-piece. Other than that, nothing too crazy, right? Pretty much just slam on crit value, slam on crit rate. This crit rate should be as close to 100% as possible because your Starrock Boom, right? Starrock Boom hand is only a single instance, and if that one hit misses the crit, it's gonna be very, very bad for you, right? So that's pretty much gonna be it. So if you really have Yunli, if you don't want to use Clara, then yeah, it is what it is, right? Okay. Our girlfriend. Alright, our girlfriend, and I believe one of our only destruction break DPS aside from Xueyi, Firefly. And I think this is probably the most, and not even probably, this is one of, if not the most owned DPS units that we have in our entire life. Firefly, in my opinion, is also very straightforward to build. Slam on the speed. Ideally, you want to hit that 155 so that you can get the 4th action on the very first wave. If you cannot hit 155, you basically miss that one action, but going into wave 2, assuming you 0 target to wave 1, there will be no difference, right? So 155 is only needed if you want that 4th action just for that one combat. Otherwise, you're completely chilling. Slam on break effect. You know, if the best Fireflies in the world is the 300 club, right? I know from one look, if your Firefly has 300 break effect, that's a pretty fucking good Firefly. If you can't hit this, then no, you can just work on it a little bit more. But luckily for us, break DPSs, they don't really care that much about subsets in the first place. So even if you don't hit the 300 break effect, you know, it's gonna be completely fine. 250, 200, nothing out of the world. She's still gonna be dealing damage, right? You're gonna be getting damage from Fuke, from Ramei, fucking from Lingsha. All these players, they're still gonna come in and help you do the damage possible. Everything else from Firefly is just nothing to talk about, right? So just give her the attack percentage, which, you know, she converts the attack into break effect herself. This is gonna be break effect main stat, this is gonna be speed boost, and this is gonna be attack percentage. So very, very straightforward, right? That's the beauty of super break, right? Every single unit is like super, super easy to build. So honestly, nothing too crazy to talk about. Ideally, in terms of subsets, your break effect should always be a priority. If you do land on attack percentage, it's okay, but if you can land on break effect, that will be technically even better, right? So just keep in mind. Other than that, nothing too much to talk about. I don't really recommend anyone changing for like a, you know, HP Firefly to tank, because, you know, you shouldn't have any issues sustaining, because the moment you go into Firefly mode, you're gonna be good, and you have Lingsha, Gallagher, so gonna be okay. For the signature light cone, I would say, we're just gonna ignore this. For the signature light cone, I would say you do have something called the 4 of an Aeon. Now, unfortunately, because I have the power of money, I actually did not have 4 of an Aeon. I don't even have it on my build. I didn't even get it from the Herda shop, so I just didn't get it. You do have 4 of an Aeon, excellent alternative. Nothing else to talk about, so just step on, and you're gonna be good. And in terms of Idolins, I mean, if you love her, you get an E6. You know what I'm saying? If you love your girlfriend, right? Like, I believe this is basically in the real world. Right? If you love your girlfriend, you're gonna get her the E6. If you don't love your girlfriend, then you should just run the E0, E1, whatever it is. But you know, if you do love her as a Firefly main, you will get an E6, right? So very, very straightforward. Nah, I'm gay. That's crazy. Yeah, but other than that, E2, very, very good. Don't really have too much to talk about, right? Yep. At the club, E1 honestly is also quite nice, because it is still 15% defense in order, and you consume 0 skill points during that hunt state. So this could honestly provide quite a decent chunk of value. And then next time if Firefly were to rerun and you still want to play Firefly, you can then make the jump into E2. I would say both of these items, they are quite nice from that perspective, right? Because defense ignore from a break DPS, you know, like I mentioned before, is integral, because almost every way you stack on your damage, you should stack on as much defense down as possible with your Fugue, Resolution, you know, you want to step on your Ramei, E1 Ramei, all the kind of stuff. Stack on defense down as much as you can to get the highest amount of damage possible, right? So that is pretty much on how do you build Firefly. Okay, Jingliu. Right, Jingliu. Okay, so like I mentioned, like every single break DPS, or rather every single destruction DPS, they all have their very, very unique builds, and Jingliu is no exception, right? So for Jingliu, she is basically Mydei, but an attack version of Mydei, right? She doesn't want any crit rate, as long as this is 50%, completely fine. In fact, 30% is completely fine, because you would be running Jingliu with Sunday for a best slot, right? So 30% crit rate, all in crit damage, completely fine. For the 4-piece, ideally highest possible damage without external sources of defense down, you can slap this on with the 4-piece Scholar, right? So basically exactly the same as Mydei. The 2-piece will always be with Rooted Arena, so something like, I guess, something like this. Okay, let me just give my queen a build, right? Let me give my queen a build. Alright, I'm gonna steal this from Mydei. Alright, I'm gonna steal this from Mydei. Okay, let me just steal this from Mydei. I'm pretty sure he doesn't mind. Okay. steal this from Mydei. I do want this to be a speed boot, so something, yeah, something like this, right? Something like this. Unfortunately, the crit rate is way too overcapped, and that is sort of a problem with Jingliu as well, which is no matter how much you want to reduce the crit rate, this is like, you know, crit damage means that don't even have a single crit rate, you are still gonna find yourself overcapping on crit rate because that's just the way the build works. Because the moment Sunday comes in, you are definitely overcapping. You want to make sure this is also 134 in combat because you want to run Jingliu, Sunday Jingliu. So exact same philosophy, nothing too crazy. The only difference is just you want to run HP or rather attack scaling instead of HP scaling. If you want to run this with external sources of defense down from whatever it is, or like for example a Pella, you can in fact run the 4-piece Quantum. That is gonna be another alternative. Or if you really want to be stuck in 2024, you could run the 4-piece Hunter set, but nobody runs that shit anymore. So this is basically the best and not general option. Other than that, then it's gonna be the 4-piece Quantum, right? I do believe that Jingliu is gonna be potentially a little bit more relevant depending on what her buffs are gonna be. Who knows? Maybe she will even run a brand new 4-piece or 2-piece because of it really depends on what she's gonna do after the set buffs, right? So that is pretty much it. If you're still using her, congratulations. I do believe that this Ninja Icon is very good as well. E0S1 and the Eidolons, I'm gonna keep it, but this E1 is just not that strong, right? Because this only activates only one single enemy target. So this E1, half the time, or I would dare say 80% of the time, is completely fucking useless because, you know, we don't have one target. E2 is kind of, I mean, like, taking a look at our old units Eidolons, it's crazy. It's crazy how bad the islands are, man. Like, holy shit. Okay, yeah, but unfortunately, E0S1, it is what it is. Vertical investment or support would be the way to go for your Jingliu composition. And this brings us to the next destruction. That is going to be Blade, right? Also, exactly the same as how you will build Mydei. In fact, almost exactly 1-to-1. Crit rate, you are actually overcapping. Ideally, because we do have the introduction on Sunday, you can actually split up your 4-piece, 2-piece Longevous, and 2-piece Ego. Because 2-piece Ego gives you a 10% wind damage, right? In case you guys forgot, Ego actually gives you wind damage. So this will technically increase your blade's damage as well. And you actually don't really care about the 4-piece crit rate whatsoever because you have so much fucking crit rate from this kit. This 4-piece is completely redundant, right? So you can actually change it to something like this. And I do believe it is gonna be completely fine over here. Yeah, so something like this is technically going to deal more damage because you're always getting 100% crit rate. You don't need the 4-piece Longevous, and you do get a 2-piece win. And just make sure that Blade is going to be faster than Sunday, exactly the same as Mydei, exactly the same as Jingliu. So nothing too crazy to talk about over there. HP, if you can hit a 7,000 benchmark, that would be very nice. But if you can't, it's okay. But most people should be hitting 7k now because you should be changing this into a HP sphere, HP rope. This is speed, and this is going to be crit damage, right? If you want this to be on HP, I guess you could as well. But it really depends on what kind of subsets you're going to be getting. So that's going to be that. I would say that without Sunday, Blade is going to be not the best if you were to run it with Bronya, because Bronya's buff only lasts one turn unless you have an E6 Bronya, and Sparkle, if you were to buff him, is gonna be basically the next best alternative. Or you can even run it with Mimi, right? Because Mimi still gives us the additional value, so that's gonna be fine. This Blade signature icon unironically got power crap by Yunli's signature, because Blade's signature does not increase his taunt value, and you also want Blade to get hit, because when Blade gets hit, you gain the charge to land more follow-up attacks. And this technically is also very, very universal. The follow-up attack damage as well as crit damage, they basically buff from Blade himself as well. So even if you lose a bit of HP and you swap this to Yunli, you are technically gonna be getting a little bit more comfort from your runs, because the more he gets hit, the more follow-up he does. Maybe not as synergistic as Yunli with the energy regeneration, but you still gain more damage output just from casting more follow-up attacks, right? Other than that, in terms of Eidolons, is E1 Blade good? I don't know. Maybe it is. Me personally, I just wouldn't really care about it that much, because again, just like Jingliu, Blade is also getting a buff. So I do want to look at how Blade buffs are going to be, especially when I consider Blade is going to be in direct competition with Saber. That's coming in version 3.4. So by the time both of them roll around, we'll see how they're going to be comparing the strongest wind destruction of yesterday as well as the strongest wind destruction of today. So that is pretty much going to be it for Blade's build. Now, moving on to the next one. Oh, wait, we're done, guys. Yo, check, we're done. Right? Because nobody plays Hook. Nobody plays Misha, right? Nobody plays Arlen. Nobody plays Xueyi, right? Nobody plays any of these units. So Yeah, I guess we're done, right? So Hook, slap on, copy and paste Clara, or Yunli is done. Misha, slap on Yunli is done. Arlen, slap on Yunli is done. Or Imbibitor Lunae is done, right? Or you can slap on a Blade, or right, Jingliu is done. I guess Xueyi is sort of the only one that is like kind of still played. I'm gonna keep it a buck. You basically play her like pure super break, right? There's no reason to build her as a mixed. Just run her as a super break Xueyi, and that is gonna be the highest possible amount of damage. Cause the mixed scaling for super break just doesn't make sense. Cause your generic support is still gonna be tight. Your super break damage scales far more than some half-ass crit and break. This is like what's the girl's name? Astrologer Elena or astrologist Elena, right? This is like the pre-Mort, and then Mort actually came out. They wanted to make Super Break happen. This was before Super Break was a thing. They made the hybrid break, which unfortunately I don't think it's scaled that well. So if you do want to run Xueyi, just full on run the Super Break version and just slam break effect, copy and slap on Firefly, and that's pretty much gonna be done, right? So that is pretty much it for every single destruction unit in Honkai Starbucks. Generally speaking, I would say because all these break DPSs, or rather all these destruction DPSs, they are very unique in their own ways. You can sort of just pick one and stick with it. Right now, the flavor of the patch is definitely going to be Mydei. Firefly and Yunli, they are still doing not too shabbily. Imbibitor Lunae, Clara, Blade, Jingliu, definitely a little bit of a step down compared to the other three. But you can't really go wrong as long as you do focus on the vertical investment. Firefly being one of the easiest because, it's going to be super break. So for beginners, is super break, right? It's the easiest to build, so that's pretty much it. Mydei, honestly, is also quite easy to build because you don't really need that much crit anyways. So the gears, I stole them, so yeah, that's pretty much right. Okay, word of the day is going to be... Oh, wait, bonus. Physical MC. Oh my god. Alright. Physical MC. Oh my god. The strongest MC, the strongest unit in the history of Honkai, the Bonk. The Bonk, man. Oh my god, do you not feel old? Holy shit, do you feel old? Because I feel like a fucking bruh. Physical MC. Yeah, just slap on attack, slap on crit rate, slap on speed. I'ma keep it about. I have not played bro since 2023. I didn't even level her like at all. Like literally at all. Alright, so the bonk, right? Just slap on crit and you're good to go. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I missed Saber, right? Join Discord, join all the best. I'm going to see you guys time. Okay.